Welcome back to Biomes. This time, we're talking about bogs. We also have some creatures. This is my cat, City. Oh no, please stay. My sister's cat, Benjamin. I know they shouldn't be outside. You can take that up with my mother. She keeps letting them out, but say hi to the creatures. So I am honestly concerningly obsessed with bogs. I fucking love, oops, I almost dropped my phone. I love bogs. It's honestly kind of weird. One of my good friends has me in her Snapchat as that bog bitch, because I've talked multiple times about just wanting to just go and live in a hut in a bog and scare children. That is my ideal career path. Additionally, if I die, I would like to become a bog body. That is my ideal burial, but apparently I'm not allowed to do that. Benjamin, what the fuck? So let's talk about bogs. So to start off, bogs are a type of wetland classified by having a lot of thick plant matter, specifically like peat moss. So a lot of peat moss, very moist, but not a lot of freestanding water, as opposed to a marsh, which is kind of similar, but less plant matter and more actual water, as opposed to a swamp, which is like a marsh but with more large woody trees and basically big cypress and trees like that. So trees, plants, more water is a swamp or a marsh, but less water, more plant junk is a bog. And bogs are just very interesting all around. They have so many cool creatures and plants and stuff in them. I am absolutely obsessed, honestly. So this is peat moss. It makes up a large part of the plant matter. It absorbs a lot of water and is just very moist and squishy and provides a good kind of foundation for other stuff to grow and live on. So there's just a shit ton of peat moss. So much so that the most common bogs are called peat bogs because there's just so much peat moss. In addition, cattails are a pretty commonly found plant in wetlands, so that you can find cattails in different bogs. There's also a decent range of carnivorous plants because they like to live in the wetter areas. So this is a sundew, but you can also find pitcher plants and things like liverwort or butterwort. Actually, no, liverwort's a different thing, but butterwort you can find. This is bog asphodel, which is a pretty neat little flower that is commonly found in bogs. Provides stuff for pollinators to go on. Also, skunk cabbage is another plant you can find, and they look really cool, actually. I haven't seen one of these in person, but I want to because bogs. And as you may guess from the name, skunk cabbage smells bad. Bugs are also a very common thing in bogs. There's bugs all over. They make a great place for breeding and for the larvae of multiple bugs to live in because they like still standing water, which bogs have a ton of, so there's always going to be a fuck ton of mosquitoes. Bogs are fantastic for mosquitoes. This is the rosy bog moth, so there are moths here. They provide food for some bats and stuff and dragonflies and such, so bog moths. I think this is a very pretty moth. Oh, this is heather, another plant that I forgot to add. Heather can also be found in bogs. They do prefer slightly drier ones, so drier areas and not just straight in the bog, but they can be found in and around bogs often. We have water striders, which you've probably seen before. They're pretty neat. They just walk around on the top of the water, and they're super fast and really hard to catch. Of course, we have both dragon and damselflies. These are two different things. I made a video on them previously, but both dragon and damselflies are kind of the apex predators in the bug classification. So they hunt mosquitoes and flies and all of that. They keep those to manageable levels. Bogs are also chock full of reptiles and amphibians, such as this leopard frog. Again, great place for them to breed. Just drop their eggs in the water and go. You can hear them all around in bogs and everything, like the croaking and ribbiting and that. Bogs also make a great place for things like this spotted salamander. Again, they like a lot of moisture, so bogs are just a great habitat for them. There's also a ton of turtles in the bogs. You can find different kinds. This one specifically is a bog turtle, but you can find like snapping turtles and like red-eared sliders and box turtles and all that. Depends on what bog you're in. This one's a more broad thing than like less than Mariana Trench or whatever, but I'm just a big fan of bogs, so this is what we're doing. You can also find snakes like this cottonmouth, also known as the water moccasin. But you can also find less dangerous snakes like just little garter snakes around, and I think they're pretty cool. I'm a big fan of garter snakes. So the snakes eat things like frogs, or this is a bog lemming. Mosquito, go away. So lemmings can be found in bogs. Just a bunch of other rodents can be found there too, kind of like mice and rats and stuff. There can also be some decently sized animals like this great blue heron that eats things like the frogs and the salamanders and the snakes, and that because there's actually in bogs tend to not have that many fish due to the fact that the oxygen in the water tends to actually be quite low in bogs. There's not much free oxygen, so fish don't really thrive there because they can't breathe as well. So the herons aren't eating as much fish, but they are eating more reptiles and amphibians. There can also be other larger predators that aren't as much in the bog, just more around. Like you can find coyotes and foxes and black bears, as well as things like deer and beavers, just however not usually in the actual bog itself, just the surrounding areas. So additionally, bogs tend to be, wherever there's bogs, the people that live around there historically, they have played a pretty big cultural role. In the case of bog bodies, it could be accidental, somebody just got lost and died in a bog and became a bog body, or it could be ritualistic burial or sacrifice or something, but either way, bogs play a pretty big cultural significance wherever they're found, in addition to being like a source of food and not really water, because the waters there not very drinkable, but like catching food there, like deer and frogs and stuff. So yeah, bogs. Brought to you by your local bog witch.